Hello everyone. Day 2 of our 5-day mobility challenge. I'm a little bit 1 minute late today, sorry, and I just want to give everyone a little bit of time to log in, and I know a lot of people logged in a little bit later than on the hour yesterday. So just some notes maybe. So today is day 2. We will be focusing on hip mobility, which is going to be really exciting. Very, very important, specifically for runners, right? Why is that? Because every time we run, within our running gait, we have to ensure that our hip or pelvis is nice and stable. And because we want to be able to get a nice range of motion with every stride, we have to ensure that we have the ability or the range of motion in order to do that, okay? And generally, runners don't like to do too much mobility or stretching kind of work. Excuse me. And so really important to make sure that we have the ability to move into those ranges, but not only that, more importantly, be able to have the stability and the range with that. It's one thing being flexible, it's a whole other thing not being able to be stable while you're going through that range of motion. Okay, guys, I'll repeat this again in a little bit, but as yesterday I mentioned, if you have some sort of foot roller, that would be amazing. If you don't have a foot roller, if you have a hard sort of ball, so a baseball, cricket ball, depending where you are in the world, golf ball, something like that would be great. All right, so let me just, sorry, I'm getting a notification that I need to change something there. Let me just make sure that I've got everything set up here properly. All right, so hopefully everything is working and everyone can hear me just fine. Okay, so if you don't have one of these, guys, even a dumbbell, a hard water bottle or something like that would be really good, just to make sure that we can do a little experiment before we start. Okay. There were a few cool, really cool questions yesterday that came through, and I just wanted to answer one or two of them because they were quite important, right? So the first one that I picked up, Ellie Beswick asked, how many times a week should we be doing each day's mobility exercises? So Ellie, that's the thing, is that it'll differ per person, right? So if you really struggle with hip mobility or something, then let's focus on that. And then I'd reckon, again, depending on the severity, you could do it every day, every second day, or in and around specific sessions as well. Some people really like it because it helps them with their interval sessions, so maybe focusing on the day before your interval sessions to do that then as well. Sorry, I think I am just getting a notification. Let me just sort out this live thing before we get going, because I'm getting a lot of notifications that things aren't working properly here. So I'm just going to close a couple other tabs just before we get started, just so that you guys can hear me properly all the way through. So just give me 2 seconds. Sorry, team. While you do that, make sure you have your mat, make sure you have some water, make sure you have a foot roller or a ball, whether that's a cricket ball or baseball, even a dumbbell, something hard that we can roll our feet on. I know we're doing hip mobility, but this is a key point. Let me just make sure that everything is in working order here. Sorry, team. All right, closed a whole bunch of applications, so hopefully that is a little bit better. If I can ask whoever's in the back, in the moderation, if you can just let me know if everything is good, that'll be good, please. All right, so yes, that was that one question. So Ellie asked how many times we should we be doing mobility. Look, I mean, if you could be doing it every day, I'd be really happy, Ellie. And again, it doesn't need to be this sort of long 30-minute stretch. Find something that works for you. Find the exercises that you struggle with. And if you do 10 minutes of mobility every day, I would be over the moon. It doesn't have to be this intense of these exercises. And again, so if you're doing 15 minutes of mobility before a session or before a strength session, it'll really make a difference to you. Okay. Shira Parsons also asked the question, if I'm just doing an easy 5K, how much warming up is necessary? So remember, we went through that whole warm-up process yesterday, and we'll do a shorter one today. even if you are doing a 5K warm-up, it's good, a 5K run, it's good to do some sort of warm-up, right? We just want to limber up the body, just make sure the muscles are moving. If you don't do a warm-up, then I'd highly recommend that you start your run much slower, okay, so that you really just ease into things. But yes, I would recommend, so of that sort of 8 to 10 minute warm-up that we did yesterday, you'll see the one I'm going to do today, it'll be a lot shorter. So we're looking at like 5 minutes. Some leg swings is always a good idea, some calf, sort of the calf movements, as well as just making sure that you're getting some glutes and just some movement. So again, just something to limber up the body a little bit. Okay, all right, and then there was another question from Karen Durham. I either run or cycle to the pool at 0 dark 100. Is it safe for me to do these right out of bed, or should I try for a little pre-mobility warm-up if I wake up stiff? So yeah, so again, that dynamic warm-up would be key, just to make sure that you're just getting some movement and blood flow before we start the mobility. That mobility flow that we did yesterday, I find really nice to do first thing in the morning, as opposed to some of the other stuff we're going to do throughout the week. Okay, so that is just a nice way. And again, if you have enjoyed yoga in the past, it's something nice to do. There were some awesome comments yesterday. So yeah, thanks guys for being, enjoying this and being keen to take part. Carol commented saying that she felt the difference in her heel repeats this morning. So that's very cool to have. Glad that you felt a difference. And again, hopefully just improving that range of motion and stability is really the goal. Okay, so let's get started. But before we warm up, I just want us to do a little experiment, if I can. So I just want to move my Swiss ball out of the way. All right, so we are going to do a little thing where I want you guys to try and touch your toes. Okay, so let me just make sure that is fine. All right, so if you're like me, you always go, my hamstrings are too stiff. My hamstrings are really, really stiff. So before we warm up, I want you guys to do this at home. Just bend over and try and touch your toes with your legs straight, right? So you can see, mine's actually getting a lot better than it used to be, but I also have really long arms, okay? So I'm probably about 5 centimeters from the ground, all right? So I want you to do that and just give yourself an idea of how far off the ground you are. Now, I want you to take your foot roller or that medicine or ball, baseball or something, and I want you to roll the bottom of your feet. Right, just up and down, just getting a good feel for everything. Just really up and down, and again, you can use a dumbbell for this, you can use a ball, just something hard, just to get some movement in your feet. And same thing on the other side. So just getting some movements at the bottom of those feet, just feeling where there's some tight spots in there. This foot roller is my favorite toy, I must just say that. Right. Now, do exactly the same thing and see if you can touch your toes even better. So I'm going to go down, there we go, and I can actually touch the floor now, right? My legs are straight and further than what I was before we started. And the reason I just wanted to show you this, guys, is to show you that it's not always just about a flexibility issue, right? Essentially, neural pathways are working to help with your flexibility. There are different aspects. Everything is a chain in the body, and so we have to work with the body as a chain, and that's why we are focusing on different aspects of mobility on each day. All right, so that is really, really key. As a perfect example, the reason the foot would impact your hamstring flexibility is essentially part of your fascia that runs through your body essentially kind of starts at your foot and works all the way up towards the neck, right? And so your tension might not be in the place where you think it is. So if you're struggling to touch your toes, it might not be a hamstring issue, it might be a foot mobility issue, it might be a neural issue within your sciatic nerve and things going in your back. So there are so many different things that we need to take into account. Okay, so that was just a cool little experiment for you guys to do, just to see how much the whole body is a chain and how things work within the body up and down the chain. Okay, but let's get started for today. Right, a quick little warm-up. So again, we're going to start with our dynamic warm-up, starting off with some leg swings forward and back leg swings, like we did yesterday, just getting some movement, at least 8 to 10 on each side. Same thing on the other side. Again, we're focusing on the hip here today. Just a reminder, guys, if you are keen to get these replays as sent via email, there is a link in the comment section there. Nikita should be in the comments there to help with that, so that you guys can get those replays sent to you. So just be sure to register. So we've done forward and back. Let's go side to side, so up and across the body. That's it. And same thing on the other side. I'm just going to turn. So we're just getting everything warmed up before we start with mobility. So we won't do a long warm up like we did yesterday, just some of the important aspects as well. Okay, we've done our leg swings. Let's make sure we do our glutes, right? So one leg up across the other in that figure 4 position. Sit yourself down, and same thing on the other side. You can see I'm using the wall as balance. And here we want to do at least sort of 6 to 8 reps on each side. Again, you don't want to hold it for too long in that position, but you do want to make sure that you feel the stretch. And again, 6 to 8 on each side. I'm just making sure everyone can still hear me. Yeah, see some cool comments coming through there. Where are we? So let's go hamstrings. Alright, so heel on the ground, your toe is pointing up to the ceiling, leg nice and straight, and from here, scooping the ground, stand up and alternate to the other side. And here again, you want to do at least sort of 6 to 8. Push yourself within your own limits. The goal here being that you don't want to bend this knee. Keep this knee nice and straight. And even if that means you go there and can't scoop the ground, that is completely okay. Good. And then let's just get our calves waking up. Even though we're doing hips, let's just make sure that's going. So lean up against the wall, pushing down on the one side of the heel, opposite, and alternating on either side over there. Alright, keep going with those. You'll see that I'm in a different venue today. This is the joy of these mobility and strength sessions, is that we can really do them anywhere, right? There's no excuse about having to go into a gym anymore. Just make sure that you have nice airy room and a mat to start off. Okay, so let me just pull up my session, guys. All right, so what we are doing today is hip mobility, right? And I mentioned around how important that is for runners, and because we are so tight within our hip girdles, we want to be able to get improved sort of stride length as well as force coming through here. And if there's any inhibition, it's going to stop us from being able to do that. Okay, so the first exercise we're going to do today is what we call hip circles. Sorry, our slide was the wrong one. So hip circles. So you're going to be on all fours, okay? Arms are going to stay nice and straight. And what you're going to do is essentially draw a circle with your knee, right? So we're going to start in a clockwise sort of format. So from here, you're going to lift the leg up and draw a nice big circle with your knee. We're going to do 5 of those in a clockwise sort of way, and then we're going to do 5 anti-clockwise. Really important, the angle of your knee doesn't change, so we don't extend out and come back in. You can, if you have that ball nearby, pop that there so that you keep that angle the same. So 5 clockwise and then 5 anti-clockwise. So keep going with those. I will take things a little bit slower today. Yesterday I was a little bit too quick. The goal of those is that we're moving the hip in a full range of motion, trying to get some movement within an internal and external sort of rotation aspect. So we're just trying to get some movements in the hips. If you do struggle with being on all fours and you let's say you have some arthritis in your wrists, you can do this standing, the same sort of movement like that. Okay, so, but I like to vary it because sometimes this doesn't give the full range. This one does give a really, really nice full range of motion. Okay, so 5 clockwise and 5 anti-clockwise. You'll notice that essentially your hip is moving in its socket round and round to really give you a good sort of movement as a starting point. Alright. Guys, again, if there are any questions coming through, if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat there, and I'll answer a couple afterwards, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. Okay. The next thing I want to do is what we call knee drops. There's so many different names for these things. That's what we've called it. So starting out, you're seated on your mat. You're going to have your feet wider than your hips. Alright, so from here, your feet are wider than your hips. Essentially, my hips are here, right? So wider than your hips. And for today, we are only going to focus on the internal rotation of the drop. So before we start, I just want to have you in the right position. So I don't want you sitting like so. If you feel you are sitting like that, use your fingertips behind you just to help you sit up in a nice straight posture. Okay, so nice and straight posture. And if you can manage to sit up nice and straight with your hands here, that would be really great. Okay, so fingertips behind you, and then from here we're just focusing on the internal rotation. So dropping one knee down as far as you can, and then your other knee down. Alright, sorry, excuse me. Someone at the door. Alright, what you're wanting to do here, guys, is just make sure that as you drop your knee, you're not compensating by lifting your hip up or your bum up. As you drop your knee, make sure that bum bone stays flat on the ground. Okay, so you're not dropping and compensating. And we drop to the other side, and you can hold it for a couple more seconds. Up and to the other side. Try not to also, the other thing you want to be careful of is that you don't drop this leg out. We'll be doing that on Friday, right? But just really focus on keeping this leg upright, keeping your upper body upright, so you're not crouching like so. Nice and straight, or here, and getting that internal rotation. You can do 8 to 10 on each side. You might already be done with your 8 to 10. But just try and feel where you feel tight. Okay, so if you go here and that's as far as you go, that's okay. That is completely fine. Right? And you try and go, if you can go further down, of course, but I have really good internal rotation, I have pretty poor external rotation. So just try and get a nice idea of where your strengths and weaknesses are, so that you can start to then focus on the specific exercises as we're going through them. Okay. All right, so that is our knee drops. We're then going to work a little bit on our adductors, which our adductors are our inner thighs, okay? Or, of course, everything is connected, okay? So what you guys are going to do, we're going to have our hands in front of us, and you're going to have one leg out to the side, okay? So I'll just show you from this side angle, one leg out to the side, your hands in front of you. But now, guys, what I want you to do is make sure your core is tucked in and that we're not rounding up our backs. So keep our shoulder blades nice and strong. And from here, we're going to sit back onto our heel. You can see my hands haven't moved. And then I sit up nice and forward again. Sitting onto my heel, keeping the hands there, not rounding up my back. And you should feel that on the inner thigh. You might feel it a little bit in the groin. But again, guys, nice and gentle. Nothing should hurt, right, as we're doing this. Work within your own limits. And here we're going to do 10 on each side. So once you've done the one side, you can then swap onto the other side. And just remember that, guys, we are wanting to, it's not a rush, right? These things aren't an important, like you don't have to rush through them. Actually, the slower we do them, the better. All right. Good. Just checking some of the comments. Hope everyone is doing well. See Karen, you're back. Welcome back. Awesome. So taking those adductor, or we call those sort of single leg frog stretches for the adductor, nice and easy, and we want to do 10 on each side. Speed here is not the goal, guys. We want to take things nice and slow. All right. Again, keep some questions coming. This hip mobility work is going to be different for everyone. Everyone's going to have some things that they feel they can do well in, some things they feel that they struggle in, right? So you'll even see with me, there's some things that I can do that, you know, you might struggle, or vice versa. All right, cool. Just giving everyone a chance to catch their breath a bit. Have done those adductor frog or single leg frog stretches. Have some water. And from here we're going to go into what we call our 90-90 stretch. Okay, so you can see with the way I'm sitting, my front leg or front knee is at 90 degrees, and the same thing here with the back leg, 90 degrees at the knee. Don't have this knee up here. We want to almost create a perfect rectangle over here. Okay. Now you can see where I'm a little bit tight, which is in my piriformis, so my knee is popping up already. Ideally, we would like to have that a little bit further down. Okay. But that's one of the things that I need to work on. Might be different for you. So we're going to do our 90-90 stretch, and we're going to start off with just a passive stretching movement. So 90 here, 90 here, and all I want you to do is we're just going to do 10 reps of leaning over this front leg. You should feel a bit of a stretch in that front hip. Sit yourself back up, and we're going to do 10 of those. So just nice and slow and controlled. Reaching forward. I can actually feel a bit of a, not a pinch, but I just feel in the hip sockets that it's a bit tight, and that's definitely because of this piriformis. So you want to lean forward, we don't want to lean diagonally. And we're going to do 10 reps of those, trying to keep your bum bones on the ground. There you go. So 10, nice and controlled. When you've done your 10, we can go on to the other side. So same concept. Right, 90 degrees here, 90 degrees over here, and now just be cognizant of the right and left differences for yourself. Right, you can see how much more my left knee goes down, my right knee's a little bit more up here. This right glute is lazy and weak, so definitely you can feel that. Okay, just leaning over, and again just doing 10 reps here. Feel that in this front hip, you'll feel that tension in the front hip. If you don't, could be for a number of reasons. Could be that maybe your mobility there is good, and we are going to do a progression on this exercise today to give you a nice idea of how that should feel. Maybe you're not doing it correctly, so just make sure that we've got bum bones down 90 degrees. But we're going to just do 10 reps, slow and controlled. Okay. Alright, so if that was easy for you, or even if it wasn't, we're going to do a little progression. Okay, so go back to the start of the other side, same thing, 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here. And what we're going to do, so I have my right foot forward, so my right hand is just going to come here to the right of my right leg. Okay? What you're going to do is you're now going to try and thread the needle, so your left hand being the needle, through this right hand. So I'm going to reach under my right hand as far as I can, and then I'm going to swift around and try and reach across. Right, and back. So here's my right hand. Let me show you from the front maybe. Right, so my right hand is in line with my right foot. I'm going to thread the needle through my right hand, so reaching as far as I can, and then swirling around and reaching across. So when I reach this front one, you'll actually feel it in the back hip, right? Because we're putting that back hip into internal rotation, and when we reach back, you might feel it in the front hip, right? So we're just going to do 5 to 8 of these, just reaching across. And then when you're ready, we can change sides. Right, so I'll just go to the left hand side, over here. Right, so my left hand by my left leg, and reaching it around, threading the needle, and turning back. This might impact your lower back a little bit, so I was going to turn to the front for you guys. Right, so here's my left hand, right hand through, thread the needle, and swivel around. Right, 5 to 8 of those. And again, just try and feel where you guys have big imbalances, or what feels particularly tight, or yeah, and then you'll know that those are the exercises that you need to focus on. Okay, we have 2 more exercises that I want us to do. So just catch your breath for me, have some water, shake out the legs a little bit. You can stand up. We're going to do a nice squat movement over here. And I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I'm assuming you guys would have taken your shoes off when we did that little foot rolling exercise. It is really nice to do these mobility exercises barefoot. Okay. All right, so what we're going to try to do now is really get some movement within the hips. Okay. This is great for not only for obviously like strength exercises, but also just to really help work on the extensors, which is your glutes at the back, but also just general range of motion. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is where you would normally do a squat, which is about hip width or shoulder width apart, I want you to put your feet slightly wider than that. Okay. You're then going to point your toes slightly out. So don't have your feet facing forward. Point your toes slightly out. And from there, you are going to squat as low as you can. Alright? So nice and low. I can go quite low. If you can only go there, that is okay. So let me show you from the side. Right? Nice and low. Again, if you can only go here, that is alright. We will work on that. Okay? Tomorrow we'll work on ankle mobility, and ankle mobility is probably the thing that's stopping you from going from here down to here. Okay, you wouldn't think so, but it really is. And so make sure you join tomorrow so that we can do work on some ankle mobility. Okay, so sorry, let's get back into that, right? So if you need to stand up again, let's do that. Toes pointed slightly out. From here, down into that position. Use your elbows to push out your knees, okay? You should feel a little bit in the groin there. And all I want you guys to do here is just rock from side to side. Feel that mobility moving in the groin. Don't lift the heels, so don't rock like that. Keeping the heels nice and low. And again, if your quads are struggling, stand up. And we can start again, right? So shake out the legs. And start again. Nice and low. And then again, just rocking side to side. Alright. I like to do sort of 5 on each side, so 5 rocks to each side, or as many as your quads allow. Okay? We want to essentially feel that we can start getting into that position. And an excellent way to start teaching yourself how to get into that position is to, I don't have a dining room table here, but perhaps like this treadmill, grab onto a dining room chair or a door, or as an example, this treadmill, and sit yourself down and hold onto it so that you don't feel like you're falling back. And it just, if you're over here, eventually you should be able to get a little bit lower. Alright. Shake out the legs, shake out those hips a bit, have some water, and we're going to get into our last exercise for today. Focusing on these hips. Just a note, guys, again, just make sure you register for the replays. The link should be in the chat or in the comments. And then also a reminder, tomorrow we're doing foot and ankle. Really, really important for runners. We'll also be doing some upper body. And again, on Friday, we're going to progress these hips because this is really, really the key thing. Okay. Okay, this last exercise. It might be slightly progressive for some of you, but I can give you a regression for the exercise. We're going to go back into that squat position, and what I want you to do now is I want you to try and put this knee on the ground. Then come back open, other knee down on the ground. But try not to compensate too much by dropping onto the other side. Right, so from here, and I've got my hands up, just the knee down, back up, just the knee down. If you need to, you can put your hands just in front of you. Let's say you are only in this position, right? Just put your hands down in front of you, and all I want you to do is just bring the knee in slightly and back and slightly and back. You'll feel those glutes working, A, because they're stabilizing and getting some range of motion. All right, we can just do 3 to 5 on each side there, right? So that's 1, that's 1. So just do 3 to 5, again, depending on how much you can handle in that position. Okay. All right. Guys, keep some questions coming. I'm going to do the last exercise just as a bit of a, I want to say recovery or some static stretching, just so you guys don't feel like I've left you with your hips on fire, okay? So let's just do the last little static kind of stretch, just to almost cool you guys down. All right. So, have a breather, have some water, and then when you're ready, lie on your back, one leg across the other. Try and make sure this knee doesn't come up to your chest. Okay, like you're lying on the beach reading a book. Okay, so that's where we started, and then from there we're going to drop this foot down to the ground. So dropping that foot down, you should feel a bit of a stretch in the glute and the lower back. Just hold it for maybe 5 seconds, and then come back up. Keep breathing in and out. And we're just going to do 3 of these. Hold it for about 5 seconds. I can feel that glute stretching nicely. It's my lazy glute. And then same thing on the other side, right? So I'm sitting like I'm lying on the beach reading a book. And then from there, just dropping down, trying to keep the shoulders flat. Don't let the body roll over as well. And same thing. Try and keep the knee pushed away from your chest. Deep breaths. Let me just grab my water. Deep breaths in and out. All right. And I'm not sure if there are any questions. Let me just see if anything has come through. All right, Karen. Your internal rotation is really poor. You and I are slightly opposite. My external rotation is really poor. My internal is actually really good. And what that is probably a sign of for me, as an example, is that my glutes are weak and a little bit loose. What might be the case for you is that your glutes are maybe tight and maybe weak. We don't know. Okay, so that could be both. But so those knee drops that we were doing, those are really important. So make sure that the one leg stays upright and that other one just comes nicely down. And if you only go there, that's as far as you go. Okay, so just taking that nice and easy. All right. Cool. I don't know if there are any other questions. But as I mentioned, guys, keep the questions coming. I'll answer some more tomorrow before we start. Tomorrow is going to be great, guys. Tomorrow is going to be really, really cool. It's a foot and ankle, which is one of my favorite things. And it's one of my favorite things because we disregard it. Yes, we always think about hamstring flexibility and hip flexibility, but we never really focus on the foot and the ankle. And again, just remember that hamstring test that we did at the beginning. I'm not sure if yours worked like mine did, but give that a try, right? And see how much your hamstring flexibility differs just by rolling your foot and seeing if that makes a change. And so, really looking forward to the foot and ankle one tomorrow. Guys, if you can, and if you do have a mini band of sorts or a TheraBand, that would be really good to have with you. But if you don't, obviously we'll come up with other regressions and progressions for you, but a mini band would be great for tomorrow. And let me just make sure that I haven't forgotten anything else for you. No, that is it. Okay, so just your mini band for tomorrow. Of course, if you have a foot roller or a ball, it's always useful to have that. But really great to have you guys. Thank you for joining live if you did. Sorry, I see a question there. Let me just answer it because it is quite a good one. Jennifer is asking, I have some osteopenia. Are the twisting stretches safe or is there an alternative stretch? So yes, I mean, it depends on how bad your osteopenia is, firstly, okay? The twisting exercises, there isn't much of a load on we're not loading that exercise, so it should be safe. I'd work within my limits, but maybe for that 90-90, then don't do the twisting, just do the stretch where you're leaning over as opposed to not doing the rotation. Okay, so that would be my advice there. All right, so awesome. Thank you guys for joining live today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome day tomorrow. Please come and check that out. And there should be a link in the comments for you guys to register to get these replays as well. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, team.